While dealing big damage does help you win fights, the most important part is to stay alive and healthy so you can constantly be involved. In today's video, we're going to break down a few clips and really hone in on how you can stay healthier in fights and stop getting beamed. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. Moving into our first fight today, we have a player looking to third-party a fight at a stakes. They're on Wraith, allowing them to play very forward without too much fear of getting instantly knocked due to her tactical. This being said, you can notice how far their teammates are as they haven't made this rotation nearly as fast as their Wraith player. They see an enemy on the far side of the nearby building and can hear enemies in the building, so they play patiently, looking for any opportunity to get some free shots. A Pathfinder challenges out of the building, look to get a jump on the fight. Since our Wraith player was ready for it, they win the trade and crack the Pathfinder shields. Rather than stick in the fight and look to re-challenge, they instead hit a nearby jump pad to look for more angles. While they could have stuck in the fight and re-challenged from the same spot, they know there are more enemies nearby and don't want to get caught in multiple lines of sight. By instantly taking this jump pad, they're able to change up their positioning in the fight drastically. They fake the escape with the pad and then tap strafe back towards the top of the building, hitting some extra damage on the enemy Valkyrie and cracking their shields. From here, the player is confident that these enemies are low, but has not managed to get a knock yet. While their teammates are closing the gap, they're still too far away to help in a straight up gunfight. Regardless, the Wraith is confident and looks to challenge and capitalize on the damage she's dealt on her own. They drop down off the building to the original side, hoping to get a quick peek on someone and put them down. However, the enemy team is prepared for her now, and the player gets beamed when looking for the fight. Now with no shields left, our Wraith player has no health advantage and no longer has a positional advantage. With her team still not ready to enter the fight, they need to get out of here fast. They decide to use their tactical and hit the jump pad again, making a quick retreat in the direction of her team. While they were able to save their life, since they didn't get any downs, technically the enemy still has a number advantage if her team takes the fight. Enemies can heal or armor swap pretty quickly, and even if they don't have time to do that, they're still in a 3v2, and guys, as you know, 3 guns is usually better than 2. If Wraith had bought more time in her fight or backed off sooner, they could have waited on their team to get closer so that their aggressiveness could be capitalized on better. Without getting a knock, they weren't able to open quite the advantage for their team that they were hoping for. And by taking too much damage, they weren't in a position to be involved in the fight when their team was starting to engage. In this situation, if they had played more elusive and patient and not re-peeked the final time, they would have had the entire enemy squad pinned down and on their back foot as they got surrounded by her team. And guys, before we move on to the next fight, remember that if you want this kind of in-depth analysis on any of your fights from a pro player, the coaches at ProGuides.com have you covered. From fundamentals to the complicated decisions that you have to make in every fight, these are some of the best players in the world ready to help you achieve your goals. So if you're ready to become a better player today, check out the top link in the description below. Alright guys, these fights have a lot of learnings packed into them, so let's get into the next clip. In this one, there's a situation where an enemy overextends, putting their squad from in the lead to behind in the fight. Here, we have a Wraith and Lifeline holding down the top of one of the buildings in the wall on Stormpoint. The friendly Ashe has already gone down, and there's a full squad hoping to finish off this fight. By keeping the high ground and forcing the enemies to make a move, Wraith and Lifeline are able to keep what little advantage they have in the fight. Now, while they do miss some shots to start things off, it doesn't matter too much if the enemy pushes to you. The Octane looks to jump pad from the right, and the Valkyrie uses her jets to gain the height from the left. Wraith immediately turns to the jump padding Octane, murking him with her Mastiff, before turning to help her Lifeline with the Valk. What's important to notice here is these 2 enemy squad members made these moves on their own, with the 3rd member watching over them. The only trouble with this is that the 3rd member has really bad lines of sight to help them, given the fact that they're pushing in to the high ground. By putting themselves in a position to be 2v2'd, they give up their numbers advantage and end up straight losing the fight because of it. On the flip side, from our POV, Wraith and Lifeline kept their high ground instead of running to try to save the Ashe. As a result, they were able to keep themselves really healthy and force enemies to put themselves into poor positions in order to try and clean up the fight. This leads to the 2 enemies that pushed in getting knocked really quickly, and the fight becomes a 2v1. While this is just a small example, I want you guys to learn from this. I see so many players try to overextend and try to res a teammate, or overextend and try to push a numbers advantage a little bit too fast. That advantage actually only exists if you're using it, and keeping in lines of sight where all of your teammates can be useful. So play more patiently than the two enemies that pushed, and don't go getting knocked for free and losing your team the fight. Alright guys, for our last clip breakdown today, let's take a look at how your in-combat movement can help you avoid damage and keep up pressure in a fight. If you get low, you aren't able to do all those aggressive plays that we all love doing so much. But starting out this clip, you see the Bloodhound put a lot of thought into maintaining health so they can maintain pressure. Right away, we see them deal some damage to Mad Maggie as she chucks her ultimate down the hallway. Rather than trying to challenge, Blood patiently moves out of the way, avoiding the collision and being prepared for a push. Sure enough, Maggie pushes in and Bloodhound instantly swings, strafing to avoid shots while landing a wingman shot of their own. After missing a couple of shots, they switch over to the Peacekeeper and instantly pump Maggie for 100 damage, knocking her. At this point, Bloodhound is still full health. While this in part is to just Maggie missing her shots, the biggest reason Maggie missed is because of the incredible strafing and movement out of the Bloodhound in our POV. From this point in the fight, they look to push into the rest of the fight and help their team to close it out. Since they are full health after that tussle with Maggie, there's no hesitation needed and the Bloodhound instantly challenges the other members of Maggie's team. Blood didn't realize how far away the enemy Gibby actually was, so they get caught in the challenge with their PK out and take some big damage. However, notice that Blood doesn't back away right away, instead using their movement to push aggressively on the other member who is healing. By doing this, they're still able to have high output while catching an enemy in a mid-heal and avoiding the line of sight from the Gibby who is shooting them. The Pathfinder that was healing gets time for one good shotty pump but misses it due to Blood's movement and then goes down himself. From here, it's all about the cleanup and this player's teammates are collapsing on the last guy and take him out for the round win. Now, while this last clip is arena, it does show perfectly how you can use your movement to stay healthy in fights and then use this extra health to exert more pressure than you normally could. By being patient in the beginning to avoid Mad Maggie's ult, they prevent themselves from being crowd controlled and taking damage. Then, having strong strafes in the fight with Maggie, they were able to avoid all damage and instantly push this advantage onto other members of her squad. Now to close it all out, the aggressive movement onto the enemy that was healing is a risky move, but one that paid off for our POV, allowing them to down another member which leads to their team winning the fight. All of these clips show great examples of what to do and what not to do. While you do want to have as much output as possible, if you get low, the options you have are really limited. Most plays you make in a fight have a high chance that you are going to receive damage. So by staying full health and really putting a focus on staying this way as much as possible, you're setting yourself up for far more success. Even in the last fight we looked at, you can see it's alright to get aggressive when you're low, but consider the risk is much higher, and you have to have really strong understanding of the state of the fight and how best to approach it. Beyond even this though, being comfortable enough to pull off the strong movement needed to avoid a lot of damage in these fights when you're going for big plays is a must. While you can avoid damage with just strong positioning and forethought, if you have the skill to implement advanced movement on the fly to execute the plays you have in mind, you will be dominating. And if you guys need more help with that, we've made a ton of videos on the channel that have just that. Alrighty guys, and that's gonna do it for today's fight breakdowns. I hope that each of these videos helps you guys understand how you should be playing your life and help you to interpret the type of plays that you have open to you considering your health pool. This is something far too many players don't take into account, and being a bit more conscious of your own life will have you winning a ton more fights. Anyway guys, as always, it's been your boy Valued. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.